Hi, it's me, Alex, and I want to wrap up September. We're already like a week into October, so let me go over with you everything I read in September, starting specifically with Shorty September. The readathon hosted by Bert and Sean and Heather. They do prompts based off of different style of shorts. This year, the prompts had a tarot card element to go with them. You know this, I am sure. So let me wrap up what I read this year. I did a lot of fitting my reads into the prompts as opposed to using the prompts to pick my reads. And it's just been a weird year. I think a lot of people can agree. It's been a very heavy year socially, politically, emotionally. So I have definitely turned to mood reading. And I had a harder time feeling motivated for Shorty September as I have in the past. But they make the prompts so broad, and they just want to be inclusive of like everyone participating at their own level. And so I was still able to be successful with the readathon. So I'm looking at the story graph challenge page for the readathon that Heather made. It says I'm 83% completed with the challenge, that I completed 10 out of the 12 prompts. There was a bonus 13th, which I did not do. But as of October 3rd, I had finished everything. We'll get into that. So the first prompt is ripped shorts, read a mystery or slasher. I listened to The Clown Brigade by Stephen Graham Jones. I actually listened to it twice because it is very, very short. Had it on like a sped up audio, which is what I usually do, but I was shopping. No, I was at the library browsing the used bookstore in the library, so like my focus was drifting in and out. So then I just restarted it at like 80-90% done. I restarted it and still managed to finish it by the time my son was done with baseball practice. So didn't love it. Number 2, summer cookout shorts. Read a book and eat or cook something that goes with it. I listened to The Mighty Odds by, I don't know, this is like a middle grade trilogy, Amy Ignatow. I think it's a trilogy, a series, I don't know, about kids who are on a field trip and the bus that they're riding on gets into an accident. Struck by lightning, maybe. And then they get superpowers. Kind of. They're very weirdly specific superpowers. Like, one girl can change the color of her eyes. What's that gonna do? One kid has super strength, but only in his thumbs. And another one can teleport, but only 4 inches to the left. And the last girl involved can hear thoughts, but only when someone is thinking about directions, like how to get someplace. So very, very limiting superpowers. But the whole book is just set up. They don't do anything with the superpowers. It's middle grade, middle school drama, riddled throughout. Bullying. I could see where it like wants to make important social points, but it doesn't do it well. The language is awful. The writing is terrible. It was like kind of graphic novel mixed in with like regular novel. The drawings were awful. Illustration's terrible. So this is just a miss. Give it a skip. Don't even bother. Like, it seems like it could be really funny. Like, what are they going to accomplish with these really stupid superpowers? And they don't even get to that. Leopard print shorts. This is actually the first thing I completed in September for Shorty September. Read a book you've seen someone else reading out in the wild, either in public or online. And I listened to I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. And I gave this 4 stars. It's a dystopia, apocalypse kind of book. It was heavy and unsettling, but very popular. And so I've definitely seen it all over BookTube, and I used it for my leopard print shorts. 4 is half and half shorts. This is a prompt every year. Read a book, then watch the movie, or the other way around. I listened to A Dog's Heart by Mikhail Bulgakov. This was in my last video, my weekly reading vlog. And then I watched the movie from like the late 80s, once it was no longer banned in Russia. It was adapted. Full thoughts in my vlog. Let me see what I rated it. I gave it, I didn't add a star, maybe 3 stars. I didn't add it on what is this, Storygraph yet, because I'm still processing how I feel about it. Okay, micro shorts or Taylor Swift shorts. Read a book, either a poetry book or a book with a breakup in it. And again, this was me kind of fitting in what I was reading anyway. I started Animal Farm with my 9th grader. Part of one of his English credits, we're listening to audiobooks where we have a science class that's like 45 minutes away every week, so we use it for audiobook time. So his English class is a lot of audiobooks and then, you know, deep diving into them. So we started Animal Farm, and I'm counting it as a book with a breakup in it because of the whole rebellion and going from Manor Farm to Animal Farm is a breakup. They broke up with Jones, the farmer. And I did not technically finish this in Shorty September. I just finished it this past Friday. So the 3rd or 4th, I think October 4th. But it was a reread, and I have finished it before. So I'm counting it as completed for Shorty September. Prompt 6, jorts or jean shorts. Read something from the 70s or 80s. Technically another stretch with the rules of Shorty September because it was a little bit longer than the typical Shorty, but it's a quick read. Jaws by Peter Benchley, also in the last vlog. 5, that's 10. 5 stars. I love this book. It is a good time. It is problematic, but it is a good time. Prompt 7 is Rockstar Shorts. Read a book and pair it with a song or album. The Penelope ad by Margaret Atwood is a retelling of the Odyssey from Penelope's side. Very interesting. So the song I chose to listen to while listening to the audiobook for that was it was a song from the movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I forget what the song is actually called. But this one here. Just because whenever I think of the Odyssey, I remember how that movie is an adaptation or like a spin, like an American version of the Odyssey, which I've never actually seen the movie fully, so I should probably do that. Because I have read Song of Achilles, Circe, Now, the Penelope ad, I actually just bought a used copy of the Odyssey from the library bookstore. I have a copy of the Iliad. Like, that seems to be popping up a lot this year. So I should probably also watch Oh Brother, We're Out Though. But I listened to some of the soundtrack. Just, you see, it's connected enough. Zip Off Trousers, a book with a title that could be shorter. I'm cheating again. I listed the 5 dysfunctions of a team, a leadership fable. This was actually something my husband had to read for like an in-house training for like the project manager level for work. And he forgot about it until like the Monday that he got like a reminder email for the meeting on Wednesday, or the training class on Wednesday. So I had to go out quickly, get him a copy of the book, and I got the book on CD also. So we had a longish car ride to go to a Connecticut Suns basketball game. Some friends have tickets they were sharing with us. So he was listening to it in the car, so I listened to it in the car. So I counted it for Shorty September, and I freaking hated it. Like, I am not made for the workplace. I am not made to cooperate with other people. It's just not my thing. Making a point about something, my husband's like, well, you know, they have to be a team player. She has to do this. And I'm like, bullshit. She's good at her job, and they're giving her a hard time because she's not likable. They don't have to like her. And I was having a fit listening to this and the bullshit of this book. But if I guess you're a corporate manager putting out a product, it's what you do. Anyway, Paper Bag Shorts, prompt 9, buy a book and read it. Bonus points if it comes in a paper bag. Another long shorty, a little bit over 300 pages. The History of Sound by Ben Shattuck. Shattuck? I don't know. This is actually a short story collection, so I'm counting it for Shorty September. They're connected short stories taking place all different periods of time in New England. And I had heard that they're connected short stories, so I got kind of lost, but I guess they're not all connected, but they kind of like paired off. And every once in a while, the two connected were like back to back, but sometimes they were like just randomly dispersed. But this is the other one that I didn't technically finish within September. I finished it October 1st. But I bought it from a indie bookstore in New Hampshire. And so I did get the cool like indie paper bag with the store name on it. Insert photo here. Prompt 10, Supermarket 2-pack. This is the nonfiction book that ties in with another of your shorties. Another one from my son's English class, How to Read Literature Like a Professor for Kids by Thomas Foster. We did the for kids version because I feel like that's all we needed to do. It's nice and short, concise, gives a good starting point. My goal is to have my son learn how to read a little bit more critically, pick up on symbolism in books, and be able to kind of analyze and dissect things a little more. So we started with this, and then we'll apply it to the rest of the things we read. So really, this ties into any of the books, but specifically the next book, which is The New Metal Bermuda Shorts, a book that mixes genres. Initially, I put the Penelope ad in it, but then I moved it because I had to shuffle things to make sure I hit every prompt. So instead, for this prompt, I am going to count The Meat Tree by Gwyneth Lewis. This I read because Heather read it, and it is a retelling of the Blodeuwedd myth from the Mabinogion, but like set in the future, set in space. It kind of has this like dramatic format because it's keeping logs these two characters are keeping a log of their mission. They like go to crashed spaceships and kind of figure out what happened, and they encounter this one and they can't quite figure out what happened, so they put on the VR set, and within the VR they're living through the story of Blue Day With, and within the story they're analyzing the myth and the story and what's happening. So I'm going to count the How to Read Like a Professor as tying into this one. It was a trip, but it was fun, and it was a really fast read. And then prompt 12, shorts with pockets. Read a book with something on the cover that would fit in your pockets. On Karen's recommendation, I read Woodworm by Layla Martinez. And this is about a woman and her grandmother living in a house built by another, so the grandmother's grandfather, I think, is how far the generations go back. And he was a piece of work. He was an awful person. Built this house for his wife, and actually it was like a prison for his wife. But the house kind of ends up becoming haunted with all the bad energy from the town, and like the ghosts kind of just end up there as shadows. Another weird kind, you got to read it. It's hard to describe exactly what's going on. It reminded me of White is for Witching. I mentioned this in my last vlog too. It reminded me of White is for Witching, where like the house itself has this like haunting sentience. Also, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, because you have that haunted house feel with an unreliable narrator. So I think those two books are like kind of good jumping off points for how to approach this one. But the thing that would fit in my pocket are the prayer cards. There is one in, I think, the beak of a bird. Yeah. And they play a part in the story. There's a lot of superstition and saints and prayer cards. And then the 13th prompt was to read an Irish book, but I did not do that at all. Other books that I read that were not included in my Shorty September, I started the month with a buddy read. Nicole of Noteworthy Fiction and I read Strange the Dreamer. I'm actually just about to start Muse of Nightmares, which is the second book in that duology by Laini Taylor. And we both enjoyed it. Didn't realize until shortly after we started it that it was a young adult fantasy book, and that influenced our reading a little bit, but we were both overall, I think, impressed with the story Laini Taylor was able to create. I think it ended up being a 4-star for each of us, but the ending is very abrupt, and so this month we're gonna do the second book. And let's see. I also read James by Percival Everett, and this was a 5-star book. Like, from the first page. Could tell I was gonna love this. Sorry. It is exactly the kind of thing I love. I read Huckleberry Finn in June or July. I listened to it. That was hard to get through. It was uncomfortable for reasons you probably already know. I had to watch some like breakdown videos, crash course. I think Hank Green, no, John, the brother, John Green, is that his name? He has an American Lit video that goes over the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, the impact it made at the time, its purpose, the problems with the ending, why maybe Mark Twain made the choices he made. That helped me kind of get through the book. Once you have kind of purpose behind it, not that you could forgive it, but it makes it less pointless. it makes it more like, okay, let me see if I think he accomplished what he was trying to do. Not totally, but anyway, James really took this story, and I think it fixed Mark Twain's book. I think it made Huckleberry Finn's actions make sense. I think it made the way the story was told in the original novel make sense, because it really emphasized that Huck is a child and his way of seeing the world is influenced by surely his age and position in the world. And there were parts where like the scenes were like scene for scene, but like the opposite perspective, and I really liked that. And then it strayed from the book where it needed to stray to give James, or Jim, himself a full developed character and make sense for the time period that this plot is taking place in. At the very beginning of the month, I finished The Wedding People, so I mostly read this at like end of August, beginning of September, and I gave it 5 stars. That one was fun. It is like a perfect blend of contemporary fiction and literary fiction, and the main character is a English professor, so there's a lot of discussion of literature within this. Basically, it is a woman recently divorced who goes to the hotel of her dreams, her dream vacation, to kill herself. But her having a room there at all is like a big clerical error, because the entire hotel was supposed to be reserved for a wedding, and she ends up getting involved in the wedding. There is romance, humor, introspection, deep thought, all in that. Like, so I think it's a good kind of mix for people who read literary fiction and people who read contemporary fiction, romance. You know, it's light but dark at the same time. I loved it. It was 5 stars. I have read this author before. She has a book called The Adults that I read probably like 12 years ago. That was very heavy and dark. So I'm kind of wondering, I feel like I need to read one more by this author and see how she has evolved as a writer, because I think The Adults was her debut. And plot-wise, it's very similar to My Dark Vanessa, which I have not read, only because when I was hearing everyone talk about My Dark Vanessa, I was like, I've done that. I've been there. I've read something like that, and it was this one, The Adults by Alison Espach. Okay, that was everything for September. I have to go, and I will talk to you later. Bye.